All right, figured I'd do a quick video on lessons I've learned my first 2 months living off grid in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So basically we got here the end of October, just before Christmas, and we've been living in the upper part of this barn. All right, so the first big lesson we learned is you look at this barn, you see my solar panels? Neither do I. They're covered up with snow, which isn't really the real lesson, other than the fact I'm too lazy to crawl out there and uncover them. I didn't think the juice was worth the squeeze, because if you look behind the barn, you see the sun? All right, I'll pivot over to where it should be. Nope, still ain't seeing it. And that's been the case. Pretty much under a handful of times, the sun has been out since we've been here at the end of October. It's either been raining, snowing, or cloudy. So the solar hasn't really been producing too much. Granted, I have a rather small system because I wasn't really intending on moving up here. But life happens. So our solution for that is, well, I think you probably know the solution. It's a little generator. All right. Now, we were using a different one before, but this is one of them Black Friday deals. $800 for this little 5,000 starting watt Predator generator. And it's got the remote start, so I can be upstairs drinking a hot chocolate next to this guy and my wife and fire up the generator. Now, how much do we got to use that generator? All right, so basically about an hour a day I have to run that generator to keep my batteries charged. And what's discharging my batteries? We have a refrigerator and our lights that are on 24 hours a day. All right, we also use a microwave and a little Ninja 2-level oven. And when we use those, we fire up the generator and just let it run so we don't suck a bunch of juice from the batteries. All right, so basically an hour a day keeps us charged up. As far as fuel, how much fuel we use, when we run into town, I got a 5-gallon gas can, and I've never used the whole 5 gallons in 1 week. But, I bring the gas can home, I fill the generator up, I top off the four-wheeler, I top off the snow blower, which we've been using a lot. It doesn't look like a lot of snow right now, but we probably had, over 2 feet, and then it rained for 2 days, and now it's switched back to snow. So it's been snowing. But that's the first lesson I learned, is you can't really count on your solar 100% because the sun don't come out. And another lesson, but that everyone knows that, the trim work. Before we got up here, I was like, man, I'm going to have all this time. I'm going to get all this trim work done. And we're going to finish up all this stuff outside. And like I said, we got here and it rained for like the first week. So we couldn't get a lot of outside stuff done. You can't really see it. We did put gravel down because with it raining for a week, it was obviously mud season. So, we ended up dropping like $1,500 and put down 3 minus. And then I put like a road gravel on top of that. It ain't perfectly smooth, and I'm expecting it to heave and move a little bit over the winter. And then next year we'll get some more road gravel and try and smooth it out. All right, not really on the lessons learned. Well, it is kind of. I had to cut down a bunch of aspen trees, and I had sawed the wood up into 2x4s because, man, it was really clear wood. And it actually worked really good for building little brackets. The wood, it's heavier than pine, but I was worried it would split. But it didn't split, and it was easy to work with. So, yeah, nothing wrong with aspen 2x4s. I painted them up. So, because aspen tree falls down and, it rots in 5 minutes. So I assume the wood isn't very durable if you let it get wet. But I made a little rack here, as simple as you can get, to hold some pitchforks and shovels and stuff like that. It was basically indoor projects because, like I said, it's been raining or snowing. All right. And we'll come around here. Another lesson I learned. All right. So you see where I got my generator. You can see the exhaust blows kind of melts, right? The other stuff kind of packs down, so you get a little bit of ice, a little hump. All right. So there's my tractor back there. And this is lesson number 2. If you're up here in snow country and you have a tractor and you're like, nah, I'll just clamp some boards in the side of the bucket and I'll just push the snow with the tractor. Well, if you don't have chains, you ain't pushing no snow. That tractor, it gets on this slickery snow and ice and it does not move. You're just out of luck, man. So we're gonna buy chains, but we're going on a trip here at the end of the year, and we'll be gone most of the winter. So for work. So, and I couldn't get the chains delivered in time, so I didn't even order them. So next year there'll be a full set of chains on this tractor, and they are pricey. They're like $800 for the 2 rear tire ones alone. So, you know, you got to figure that in. But that was lesson number 2. The tractor is pretty much useless without chains. All right. And part of that lesson is, you see that bracket. All right. See how that's broken, a little crooked? Well, that goes back into what I was describing here, how the ice humps. I was driving the tractor out and it just slid over. It slid down the ice into my little wood bracket and broke it. So granted, it was a free bracket, you know, because the tree was cut off the property and I sawed it myself, but still, it was a lesson learned, and it's a combination of things. I mean, eventually, well, not eventually, we just didn't have time this year, but I'm going to build a little shed just for the generator, and we'll probably put a little bigger of a generator in there, and we'll bury the electric cable through the ground instead of having an extension cord running up going over to our solar brains. All right. But yeah, lesson number 2, if you're going to use a tractor, you need chains. If you want to move snow anyways. All right, let's get on to the 3rd lesson. All right, the 3rd lesson, if you can see behind this dog here, there's a little stack of firewood. I usually like to keep it up about maybe 3 feet taller. Are you cold? But the 3rd lesson is, make sure you have a stack of firewood that's readily accessible and easy to get to, because I caught a cold or COVID or something, and I was sick for about 3-4 days, and it sucked going out to get firewood. So make sure you have, like, man, I'd go as far as a week's worth of firewood ready, so you don't have to truck through snow to go get firewood when you're not feeling good. All right. Another big thing that kind of pops up when you're living off grid is you look out the window and it's dark. And it feels like it is dark most of the time. So you got to have little activities you can do inside, you know. We haven't hooked up a TV or anything yet. We're trying to avoid that. So me and the wife will end up playing board games, or I got little carving spots set up where I do little carvings, or you end up reading books and magazines. So that's pretty critical, is having something to do while it's dark outside. All right. And our main source of heat is this wood stove. So another big thing we've learned is we do most of our cooking now with cast iron cookware. Like right now, I mean, it's been on there quite a few hours, but that's what's handy about it. You can cook and just leave it on there. That's some chicken soup, but it'll probably cook down into something that's probably not quite soup anymore. But that's okay. I'm still going to eat it. So, I mean, we got more than that. We got some jammed up in our little cubby up there. But the primary things we use is a fry pan and then the Dutch oven. So, that's the majority of our cooking. We were going to get an oven, but we cooked so much on the wood stove, we decided just to get one of these little Ninja ovens. And you can cook a 5-pound turkey in there. You know, you can, it's actually pretty handy. I mean, and this one's a 2-part, so you can be cooking something in the bottom and something in the top at separate temperatures. So it's actually pretty handy. And it's got something that is crazy. I can't believe more stuff don't have it. You got a sensor here that plugs into the side. You jam it into like your chicken, right? And you throw your chicken in there and you set the dial. And this thing, once your chicken hits 165 degrees internal temperature, it shuts off. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. Then we got a microwave for heating stuff up. And right now we got one garbage can here, and we got one downstairs for stuff that don't burn, because having a burn barrel, that's another big lesson. A burn barrel is critical, because without the regular garbage pickup, it's just amazing how much stuff you can burn and how little actual trash we got to take out of here now that we're doing a burn barrel. All right. And you go to the top here. That's our kind of crude water setup. Okay. We set that jug. We fill it up full of water. And I got a hose running down. And I just got a little valve at the bottom. I know it's pretty crude, but we weren't planning on living up here. And that's just the way life panned out. So we're up here. So now this is our water until it warms up and I can get the time to hook the sink up and hook up our regular water system. And another thing, you know, you need the little coffee pot set on the wood stove so you can heat up like apple cider or, you know, water for hot chocolate. So them are little tips and tricks. And here's a little refrigerator we got. And this is probably the main draw on our batteries. You know, it runs 24 hours a day. So this is the reason we got to run the generator for like an hour to charge up our batteries. All right. Here's a craft thing. I don't know if I ever showed. It's live edge Christmas tree parts that are left over from when you're sawing up logs into boards. And basically I just screwed them to a backbone, cut them into the shape of a tree. And then I bought little picture frames off of Amazon and put pictures in there. And I don't know. I really like it. I think it's a great little Christmas gift there. All right. There's that. That's our water system. I had big plans for all kinds of fancy stuff for a bathroom. But literally we moved up here and we really weren't ready for anything. All right, so basically I just got a light and I got half of them, well, half of that one turned off. People had asked, our shower, I know it's a mess in here, but we're still using this because like I said, it was, we moved up here so quick, I didn't have time to get any kind of water system set up. So I ain't even got anything screwed on the wall in the shower here, but we're using the shower and we're still using this little camp setup for taking a shower. So it's pretty crude. All right. So 2 thrones here. Now originally I was thinking of going with RV type one or even a regular one and having a tank outside. And we still might do that. But this is what we got right now because we come up here. And one thing you'll learn is you can't mix 1s and 2s, right? Because it smells horrible. So 1s, to solve that little riddle there, we basically got a 5-gallon bucket. And then I cut the top off. You know how you have them water jugs, like them water stations you see at Walmart, or you see them in doctor's offices where you got the jug that sits on top and you got the little handle and they sell the jugs at like Walmart already full of water. I cut the top off of one of those, siliconed it into a 5-gallon pail and run it into some PVC pipe, and I got it running outside. So the trick to that when it's like 0 degrees out is after you take a leak You run some windshield washer fluid, just a little splash through there, and that keeps her from freezing. All right. So that's the trick to that. All right. Number two's, you got a 5-gallon pail, cedar wood chips, and you don't really smell anything. I mean, it covers the smell, but I still mostly use the outhouse. This is more for like you wake up in the middle of the night and you ain't wanting to run out there with the wolves and freeze while you're out there. And this, it does have a P-trap outside underneath, and basically it's got a plug in the center, so I have to drain it after we take a shower, which consists of like 2 seconds. All right, you unscrew the little plug and let the water run out. Now the initial plan was I was going to put a fitting in there and have this little valve, and then I could just drain the P-trap whenever after we took a shower. And in fact, this is exactly what I bought for it, because I was going to use this hose, that valve, and the fitting that's in this little tank to go into that P-trap so I could drain it so it wouldn't freeze, because it's under the floor here, and just drain it by flipping that valve open after we take a shower. But I had to repurpose that because we needed something so we could wash dishes. So we haven't made it back to Menards or anything, so I'm just taking a minute and I'm screwing the plug out of that P-trap. All right. Anything else in here? All of these lights are just 12 volts. Like that one, I got half of it off just because we didn't really need that much light. And this messy area, this is where all of our water stuff is going to be. I got the tank up there, and I got a pump sitting there, but haven't had time or energy to do much else. All right. Now where are we? I can just give you a quick look of how we're living here. So basically we got the kitchen, the cabinets, and stuff like that. You just got to be careful when you leave, because like say you got cans of corn or any canned goods, the water, they'll freeze solid. So the kind of trick to that is, if we're leaving and the fridge will stay running off the batteries, we can probably leave for about 3-4 days without starting the generator, and that'll keep going before the inverter kicks off due to low battery voltage. We just run the generator every day just to keep them, so it's easier on their lifespan. But what I was going to say is, sometimes, I know it sounds weird, but you take your canned goods and you put them in the fridge when you leave, and that seems to keep them from freezing solid. It's actually warmer in the fridge than it gets in the barn building, in the living space, because no one's here to heat the place up, keep the wood stove going. And then we'll dump this stuff in the sink, all right, just because there's a P-trap under there, and I don't want that freezing. So if you leave for a couple days, you gotta plan ahead, All right. Dog holding on the chair. The bed, I know it seems odd having it up so high, and you gotta excuse the mess. We literally sold our house, moved a bunch of stuff into a storage unit, and dragged a bunch of stuff up here, and you just don't have enough space. But the reason we got the bed up so high, we got it on a box spring, is because I wanted to lay there and look out the window, because there's all kinds of critters that come and look out the window. I'll show a little video of that. All right. So then it's pretty cool just sitting there watching the animals out the window, but also because we didn't get around to insulating the floor yet. So having that box spring under there kind of insulates the bed wise. You stay nice and toasty. And in fact, most of the time we got to have the windows open because that wood stove really pumps out the heat. All right. What else we got here? That's a skin from my daughter's first deer. I didn't really do the best job of skinning that, did I? I did a pretty good job tanning it, though. It looks pretty good. But, yeah, there's that. A homemade, got bored, made a homemade picture stand. All right, not really much else. All these outlets are hot. They work. Another thing I learned, Menards windows, at least they're cheaper ones, suck. Okay? Why? Why, you ask? All right, you see this gap there? This time of year, it's not an issue. But when it's warm out yet, flies will crawl under there and get in between the screen and the window. And then they get up in there, and you'll be sitting here, and flies will literally crawl out that spot right there. So thus we got a fly trap, because when we fired up the wood stove, it'd bring the flies back to life, and we had flies flying around in here, and you could literally see them coming out the window. So we got a fix we're going to implement on that. We got a couple different ideas to try and seal around that screen. We already emailed the company and talked to them. They sent us all new screens, but they're exactly like the screens that are in here. So they suck. All right. The other stuff I got to show you will be downstairs. So I'll wait till tomorrow morning and I'll go down there and show you that stuff. Well, it's the next day, and as promised, I'm going to share some of my learning experiences down underneath the living area of the barn here. All right, so first things first, and please ignore the mess. Like I said, we moved out of our house that we lived in 20 plus years in the span of like a week, and stuff is between here and the storage unit, it's laying all over, and we just haven't had time to get everything put in its place. So please ignore the mess. All right, let's do the plumbing here first. All right, here's the bottom of the shower. There's the P-trap I was talking about with the plug in. Right now, I got to take that plug out when it's cold so it doesn't freeze and break that pipe. Watch, I just sit on the stairs, reach over, pull the plug. Eventually, there's going to be a fitting there, and it's going to go into a little plastic pipe, or tube, I should say. It's not hard. And then it'll go down, and it'll go into this drain pipe, and there'll be a valve. So all I got to do is stand there, turn the valve, and it'll drain the P-trap, and voila, it's freeze-proof. It's either that, or I have to dump like windshield washer fluid or RV antifreeze in there after every shower, and I just didn't want to have to do that, all right? Although, like if you go over here, that pipe up there, that goes into what I call our urinal. All right. Now you notice there's no P-trap for that, because without running water, the P-trap would just fill with urine and it would stink. I mean, after we use it, we flush, I say flush, but dump a little windshield washer fluid down there. And that's more of an antifreeze thing than anything, but it also kind of works as deodorizer. All right. And you say, well, won't the pipes start to stink after a while? Well, you figure you got the shower. You take 2 showers a day. You know, the wife takes one, I take one. And all that soapy water is going down and it's washing this pipe out. So there's really not much of a section that can build up any odor. And besides taking a shower, you got this pipe that runs and goes to the sink and has a little clean out on the end. But yeah, that goes to the sink. And you may be wondering, well, where's your air vent? Well, there is none. All right, so basically I had the pipe you're looking at and a 6-pack of beer, and the box store's an hour and a half away, so we built it without an air vent and had fun doing it, and we figured we'd try it out to see if we needed to add one later, and with such a simple system, so far there hasn't been any need for it. All right, and this is only temporary because we are going to build a house. This is like a temporary situation because we're kind of homeless right now. So this was something we just threw together to get it going. All right, so this pipe goes down, goes into the ground there, and it goes outside. Now there is something that's critical. All right, let me take you back here. This is my summer water catchment. It still needs some fine tuning. Obviously, I'm going to build some real brackets. But okay, you come back here. And that's just overflow, so when it gets too full, that drains out. So that inside the barn there, the pipe is buried in the ground right here. And we'll walk down here, and I got basically a piece of plastic material that I think it was like a trunk liner. And this is that pipe that comes out, all right? So basically you throw something over it like that, and then when it snows, the snow don't plug up the end of it and freeze up. That happened to us the first time, and it was kind of exciting. I come out here, and because it was gurgling, and it wasn't making any gurgling noise before, so I figured something was wrong. So we came out here, and you could see ice in the end because snow filled up the end, and then it froze. So I whacked it with a hammer, and then a stream of soapy water and urine and everything else came shooting out of here. All right, so it didn't get me, but man, it was close. that ruined your day, I think. So again, this is just a temporary setup. Not sure I'd necessarily recommend this system long term, but we came up here and we needed a way to go to the bathroom and take a leak without going outside and freezing all the time. So in the summer, what I'm probably going to end up doing is I may put a little tank here to catch everything, and then we'll deal with it that way. But for the moment, we just didn't have the time to get any of that done. Little rabbit tracks. Now this poor guy, I got a picture on my game camera. Maybe I'll throw it on here. There's a coyote going through with a rabbit in his mouth. So the guy that made them tracks, he's probably gone. But the circle of life, I guess. All right, let's go back in here. All right, let's go on in here, and I will show you a few other things we've been up to. All right, please again, excuse the mess. Things have been crazy. So we got a few lights down here, nothing crazy, but enough so you can see what you're doing. I'll show you the electrical. All right, so this here, see that's the battery, 11.6 right now. Yeah, definitely low, but if there's a bright side, we haven't had the generator running since like yesterday in the morning. So I'm going to have to fire her up to recharge this thing. In fact, let's do that right now. So 11.6, we'll walk out here. This cord here is what is a temporary cord going from the generator to the inverter charger to charge the batteries. All right, fire that up and go back in here. And now this should kick on here pretty quick because it'll sense that there's juice. Yeah, there it went. All right, so now this thing is working as a battery charger and still doing an inverter, so it's keeping power up to the outlets upstairs, but now it's also charging the battery system. All right, so basically what you got here you got your charge controller. This goes up to the solar panels. All right, you can see the juice already starting to go up. All right, and then it goes to the batteries. This is the inverter slash charger, and we actually bought bigger than we should have. I wish I would have bought one size down because we didn't need as much juice as this provides. And this thing, that being said, what would be the downside? Well, it eats more battery amps and, you know, just idle than the smaller one would. And I guess looking back, I'd buy the size down. You know, I thought, ooh, bigger's better. But not so much. All right, and like this thing, we got that 5,000 watt generator. It's got a knob here to adjust how much juice it pumps into your batteries, and it sets for whether you have AGM batteries or lithium or regular batteries. You know, that it's got all the settings, and then it sets how many amps you can put in there. And I can only do like 75% before it overloads our generator and kicks it out. So yeah, this thing pumps a lot of juice into them batteries. All right, so charge controller, inverter slash battery charger. So this is putting all the 120 upstairs, and then this, our lights run off of this, all of our 12 volt lights. So basically this is a system where you get 100 amps goes in there, and we got it going in. There's a breaker right here, so battery hot comes in, and this is a 100 amp breaker, and that goes up and it feeds that. And then you got, this is an output, so this is 100 amps going in. It's not really ever using 100 amps, but it has that potential, right? That's what this is rated for. And then I got this going out, and that goes to the other side of the barn, but it's not even hot right now because you got to put a fuse like that into there to make that hot. So that basically, that's going to be for the water pumps and stuff. That'll be a 50 amp circuit. So basically right now we just got our lights running off of here. And the reason we use this thing is you have battery hot, a timer, and an ignition. All right, so if you put power to where? Right here. No, where? Somewhere. Let me look at it. Oh, right here. I don't have it hooked up yet, but if you put power to that, then these circuits will only be hot when you have power to that. So it makes it handy where you can have a switch to control a bunch of different circuits. And then these are on a timer, so when you take power off of that, you can preset the time up to hours or down to minutes on how long these circuits would have power. So it's a pretty nice little unit. You can find them on eBay, you know, fairly cheap, and they're handy. All right, so other things we got going here, we got a main battery disconnect. So if I turn that, everything 120 loses power. All right, and then you go through that, and you got a 500 amp fuse. All right, so if that blows, the batteries are completely disconnected from the inverter. All right, and that goes to this battery block, and then all the batteries, this is odd, this is something I haven't seen before, but I wanted to try it to see if it would work, so I could disconnect each battery and check their voltage individually to see if I had a bad one, you know, because you get one battery that goes bad, it can suck down the whole system. So each battery has its own 100 amp breaker, and I can push the switch and disconnect the battery from the system and check it, at least in theory. And then I got a ground block over here connecting all the grounds together, and then I got a rod, I don't know if you can see it, beat, what is it, 7 feet into the ground? And the ground, and that's grounded to the batteries and the inverter and the generator ground through that. So it's just beat into the ground. And that's a quick overview. Yes, that's pretty shady, but eventually there'll be a real outlet there. You know, you got to make do with what you got when the nearest box store is like an hour and a half away. So right now, we just got the generator plugged into Acme plug, and that just goes up to the inverter. All right, so that's what's, when the generator's on, that's sending power into the inverter to charge the batteries and take over for the batteries for the 120 upstairs. All right, I don't know if any of that made any sense, but see, we're up to 12.6 already. But I just figured I'd show a quick overview because I haven't really talked about any of this stuff that much, and maybe I overcomplicated it, and the system should be simpler than it is, but this is what I got. All right, so that covers that. Well, there's the magical burn barrel. All right, I better wrap this video up. I wanted to say the most important thing I've learned living up here for the last 2 months is that it's fantastic for your health. I mean, mentally, I don't think I've ever been better. I mean, I'm sleeping great at night, and it's an amazing feeling. There's like no stress. All right, and the other thing is, in the past 6 months, my blood pressure has dropped almost 20 points, which is amazing to me. All right, so basically, I just wanted to say, if this is a lifestyle you're after, you know, there's never going to be the perfect time. I mean, we're definitely struggling because a lot of stuff just wasn't ready. I mean, heck, you look at the barn and it ain't even finished being built. But it's never going to be perfect. You just got to make that jump. And I will admit, in full disclosure, we're kind of cheating. All right, so basically what happened is my wife and I, we quit our jobs that we've been at for 25 plus years, and we took a job where we worked together but over the road. All right, well, how am I going to homestead if I'm over the road? Well, that's the thing. All right, there's 2 big things that reasons we took that job. One is we wanted to see the country before we were tied down, because once we move up here permanently, we're going to have animals and we ain't really going to get to go anywhere. So we found a place that'll literally pay us to go all over the country. And the second part is we get 5 months of the year off. So for 5 months of the year, we'll be up here being able to work on projects and get stuff done, which is way better than being a weekend warrior. So once we get cracking, the job should start turning out, and I should be able to make some videos. I'll take you along for the trip. I think it's going to be a hell of a trip. All right, so this summer, for sure, you'll get to see me build a 12 by 16 building, because I want to get our stuff out of the storage unit. I just don't like the fact that we're paying a place $100 a month to store our junk. And then I want to build another little building down here, and that's going to be a whimsical shed. So kind of like a Dr. Seuss looking thing. And then after that, we're going to talk to the engineers and get plans drawn up, because where I'm standing is where we're going to build our house. And my wife and I want to do everything that legally we can do on the house. We want to do it ourselves. You know, if there's specialties like, say, pouring a foundation or stuff like that we obviously can't do. But everything we can do, we want to do, and everything that we can use our own wood for, we're going to. So that should be interesting. I can't say how it's going to turn out, but we're going to do our best. So I just wanted to check in. People have been asking questions in the comment section and messaging me. So just checking in, let you know we're still alive, still got a lot of projects to do, and there will be more videos coming. It's just a lot of the videos related to this homestead probably won't be coming out till almost springtime, because I would rather use the 5 months we have off when the weather is warm, because this time of year it's kind of hard to get stuff done. I mean, this is the best time of the year to cut the trees, but it's hard too, because if I cut those trees and I stack them up and say I don't get to them right away next year, them bugs that are get under the bark, and man, they bore holes in that pine, and then it becomes blue stained, and so yeah, we'll see. But there'll definitely be some content coming out, and I appreciate anyone that watches for watching. So I guess thank you, and have a good one, and Merry Christmas.